Hello and welcome. And today we're going to look at a freeware aircraft that has a lot of payware qualities, but is still a freeware from a company called Xcrafts. Xcraft has started to create Embraer jets for X-Plane and is indirectly also linked to the Microsoft flight simulator version of the E-jets, which are published by FSS. As far as I remember, it was Xcraft who gave the FSS team sort of the modeling, the base modeling of their E-jets, and they then continued to migrate that to MSFs. Xcraft has decided at some point to give a free version of their old E-jets from X-Plane 11 some time ago. I did get those. I loaded that on X-Plane 12, and it wasn't really. It didn't really work very well. So I didn't actually realize, but at some point they obviously decided to also create an X-Plane 12 freeware demo kind of aircraft, and that's what we are seeing here. It's without any doubt very professional models, and it has a lot of interesting design features in it, but all in all, it is still a standard, sort of laminar standard-based aircraft, and because they want to sell the not very cheap payware models, $75 for one. But you can get the family, you can get 2, 3, or 4 aircraft. So if you buy all 4 aircraft, it costs you around 130, I think. It's quite a lot of money. It's quite expensive, especially when you compare it with MSFs. But this one is for free, and I think there's a lot you can do. It is a bit quirky in some areas, and especially when it comes to autopilot and auto thrust system and the non-existent VNAV, can be a little bit of a handful. But I've been flying it now quite a bit because I'm testing sort of a virtual co-pilot tool that I'm writing. And I have to say I got used to it quite well. So we can have a very, very quick look at the modeling. I use the walk around tool here. So it's very, very nice modeling. Pretty much payware level modeling here. Very nice textures. Quite a bit of detail also, for example, on the gears here. Yeah. It's definitely, we get some of the payware work has gone here into this freeware version. So when it comes to fidelity of textures, modeling outside and inside, at least in the cockpit, the cabin is okay. It's not the worst. I've seen far worse. But who's flying in the cabin? Nobody. Yeah, there's a little bit of tidbits around it that you can turn on and off. There's a pushback functionality, which I won't use because I have better pushback. There's a weight and balance, which quite honestly, nope. I played with it. It's a bit messy. I actually prefer to do it from the weight and balance menu. Works like a charm. Yeah, so that's it. That's the model. Very nice. You do get 175, an E-Jet 175, that's this one. And you can get an E-Jet 195. So 2 aircraft you can get, both on the same implementation, same simplicities, but also same very well done modeling. Okay, so definitely worth having a look at this. because for free, this is definitely more than you usually get for the free. There's only a very small number of really good freeware projects that are on a really professional level, Zibo being one of them. So this may not be Zibo, and it doesn't intend to be because it's a demo. It's trying to give you an idea of what the payware models look like. So in a way, it's advertisement. But I think for free, you can deal with that. So let's end the walk around. Here's the cockpit. Let me hide this button. I hate that this button always shows. So here, this is the modeling inside the cockpit. Also very, very nice. If you want to know how to get it, click here and your browser will open, getting you to the Xcraft website. Here's the cabin. As I say, not the worst, but I don't really care about cabins. Yeah, that's it. Very nice. Now, I can tell you already some things that you will definitely have difficulties with, and that is auto throttle system. There's no VNAV, and this whole descending and climbing thing in a controlled fashion can be a little bit dodgy. So I've kind of developed my own procedures for this, which usually work, unless I'm making a mistake. So and I will try and use that today, and hopefully in the video it won't mess up like it usually does. So let me bring in the Simbrief window here. So I actually created now, or we will generate a flight plan in Simbrief. Okay, here we go. So we're flying from Stuttgart to Munich. This is our usual route, flight level 140. Let's generate this. Now there's no direct Simbrief integration. The reason why I'm doing this is because I'm running these scripts in the background, and I'm intending to use the scripts also for our flight here. Okay, so that's how you can do it. And the profile, actually I wanted to show you that. Let me quickly call that up. So if you enter E175 or E195 and then you come over here, there are Xcraft profiles. I can't remember now if I have manually added them or if they are actually available out of the box. But you definitely get profiles for the payware version, but the payware and the freeware match quite well when it comes to the performance parameters. So I haven't really seen a big wrong in using the payware version here as a profile. If you really want to do V-speeds and stuff, although this thing doesn't work here, okay? So you can use the performance mode of, so let's generate the flight again. Because if you edit it, then it's gone. You can use the takeoff performance, provide some information, say calculate, and then it will provide you with some values, okay? Yeah, your guess is as good as mine here. Because they haven't documented it. And again, this seems to be on purpose. So there's no takeoff one. You can't set the whole engine rating and all that. You can't set this anyway. There's no selected temperature. So what you can do is you can kind of use these as a guide. I usually say once I'm above 130 knots, I kind of start pulling and rotating. Yeah, but just to let you know, it is possible to use Simbrief for this set of aircrafts. All right. Now, as I said, the reason why I did the Simbrief is because I have this sort of automatic or background first officer script in Fly with Lua, and that's kind of the briefing thing. I'm able to actually read the Simbrief, at least as long as they don't switch to HTTPS only. And so I've just created a flight here, as you've seen, and now, I mean, the whole weather reporting stuff isn't correct because we don't use generated weather, but here's our flight. So we are flying from Munich, from Stuttgart to Munich, then, yeah, flight level 140. And it's via Abtal, direct Magat, that's our standard routing, okay. And theoretically, what we would need is a block fuel of 3,139. We have 4,724 on board. I'm not going to change anything. Also, our payload, I think, is pretty much, what's the estimated takeoff weight? 32,282. Yeah, no, that was, no, I didn't want that, but it doesn't matter. Okay, here we go. I'm changing the fuel. Okay, now we have got a ramp weight, which is very close to what the plan says here in Stuttgart. We are going to use runway 07, and it's standard atmosphere because I haven't created any weather for this or don't use any weather tool. Yeah, this is usually what I do. And by the way, I do set 250 as the initial speed for the auto throttle, but I'm going to explain later on. I'm usually doing the departure here. Yep, so that's very quick briefings, so to say. Now the way this autopilot works is there's a standard operating procedure, but it's a generic one. And it will set up the aircraft, for example, the power up now, and you can watch the switches being flipped, at least the ones that I was able to find and switch. Yeah, there's this wrong and nerving master caution thingy. So we are now on GPU, so you can select if you want GPU or here we have power up with GPU. I could also choose power up with APU and I would start the APU, but we're going to start the APU in a moment anyway. So we've done the departure briefing, yep, and so have a look here. There are some switches that don't work. Things like the fire test do actually work, but only when you have turned on the batteries. So if these two are off, a lot of the buttons won't work. So they've somehow coded them so that they're blocked. So you must make sure that you have at least the batteries on, and then you can start using some of the other ones. At the moment, the bleeds are off, and also the isolation valve is basically off. But that's not what we need for engine start checks. Yeah. But yeah, I've got this sequence of events. So the nav light is on, and yeah, the park brake is on. We have 2000 as a standard code, and so on and so forth. Now here you see the displays. The displays can be kind of brought out, but unfortunately only like this. And you can't move them. It's okay. I've created a view where you can use those, but to be honest, I don't use this. I actually have external displays, which unfortunately only work once in a day. The extractor, because it seems that when you start the aircraft a second time during a day, then the displays are put somewhere else in the memory, and then I have black displays. Happens again and again, because I'm doing this video now for the second time, and the second time around I don't have displays. In that case, I use then those here. It's okay, but it's not really great. But again, freeware, don't forget. In order to program the FMC, this is more or less the default stuff that you get from Laminar. So what I will do is I will go here and I enter the route now manually. Don't need to load a file. Yeah, so it's departure. We're going runway 07, APTA for hotel. And the arrival is the ILS 08 left via vectors. Then we go to the legs and remove the discontinuity. Oh yeah, and by the way, and you need to open this one here because there's no delete key. You need to get rid of this thing here. And then we can do execute. Let's have a quick check. My god, yeah. So that's our route. Now it's correct. And you can use the progress page here. So we haven't yet defined everything. So climb 5,000 and cruise is then on flight level 140 and the destination, yeah, that's correct. Which means that we have our top of descent in about 66.7 miles. Yeah, that's correct. That's the standard value. Okay. What else can I show you? So PFD is quite well done, I think. It's not 100% like the original would look like, but I think it's good enough for what we are using it. There are no V-speeds that it calculates. So as I said before, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the initial speed to something like 250 knots. I explain a bit more why I'm doing things that I'm doing, especially on the takeoff, because I made a lot of experiences with this aircraft, and as I say, the only weakness really, and I'm pretty sure it's also something that they wanted to have in there and not make much better, is the auto flight, especially the auto throttle system isn't really great, but you can work with it, and if you use simple modes, it's okay. Here you can see systems. This is fake again, show you what is possible. Normally the vertical display would be with the map mode, but yeah, they just show you this here. So there are the various pages that you can go through. So all the important things are actually shown. You can see the doors and all that. Here you can see the brake temperature and so on and so forth. This is the plan mode, and this is the map mode. There's also weather and weather terrain radar I haven't actually seen yet in action, so I don't know if it actually exists. Right. Let's continue. Next is the engine start checks. So we're going to set the aircraft up now for starting the engine. So we have the ATIS. Yeah, let's assume we've briefed it. Clearance we have got. Turning on the flight directors. We have programmed the FMC. And we're now starting the APU. We have to wait that the APU comes online. That will take some time. Yeah, you can see it here. So when this is at 100%, the APU is fully available. There we go. Now, usually this is a dark cockpit, again, something that's not fully properly done. So if you turn off ice protection, it should really be dark and not light. And then there's this strange knob here, which basically turns the whole anti-ice stuff on and off. Okay. And it's coupled with the AOA heat, so that's a little bit odd. Yeah, since we don't need anti-ice, I'll just turn off the lights. The isolation valve needs to be put to APU because we are now going to take the air from the APU in order to start our engines. Basically, you can set everything into auto mode as far as possible because the E-Jet is the kind of aircraft where you don't have to do a lot. I can't remember now, but I think we can put these into auto mode as well. And these we change when the engines are actually running. So we're now off the GPU has been sent away, and we are now supplied by the APU. Right, then pre-push an engine start. We're closing all the doors now, and I'm going to get better pushback into the game.
Round to cockpit. Please show me where you want to go.
Yeah.
Round to cockpit. Toes driving up.
Okay, so we've engaged the pushback service. This Copilot thing that you see is still work in progress, and I've actually done a lot of change to it. I'm creating now a generic module, which I try to design so that it works with most aircraft or with a lot of aircraft immediately, especially when they are based like this here on the default functionality. Because it is quite a bit of work in the old way to get a new aircraft set up, and I hope that when I'm finished and when this is now fully working, I hope that I can more easily integrate with more
all
aircraft.
Doors and hatches are closed, ready to connect.
Only minor adaptations needed. Yep, and when it's done, then I will probably make my own video for that. Communication ground is established. I think we are also ready. Yeah, there's no checklist. You could get now yourself an E-Jet checklist, but my scripts make it so. So let's start with the pushback. We don't want to spend too much time. Oh, he's lifting it. Okay.
Now connected and bypass
So
been
we've
inserted.
received the clearance from pushback. We're now ready for engine start.
Starting pushback, and you may start the engines.
Okay, let's start the engines.
Start sequence is 2 then 1.
It's basically very simple. You put these on auto, you open the lids, and then you hold the engine thing to the right. You have to stay on it. Okay, start first engine.
Starting right-hand engine.
Because it needs some time. It needs to stay in this position until things are moving here, like now. So if you're not long enough on that button position, the engine won't start. So don't be surprised. Yeah, so you've seen it here. I do it with a script, but when you do it manually, that's what you need to do. Yeah, it takes some time before they spin up, and then you need to be around 400 something here. That's when the engine is sort of ready. Yeah, so when it's above 400, then it's more or less done, and we can start the other engine. So again, put this in auto, try and hold with the mouse so that it stays on this position until things are kind of taking off here, like now. I think we're done.
Operation complete. Please set parking brake.
Parking brake is set.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
Louder air. Do they still exist? I don't think so. This is the Just Flight Traffic Global. There are still some old airlines frequenting my skies. Yeah, Toba is disconnected. So we can do the
Tower is
after.
disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal on the left. I'll see you next time. Have a safe flight.
Yep, winke winke after start checks. So we're now getting, you see we're turning on the engine generators. And that's actually not quite right. So the isolation valve has to come into the both position. And that means it takes it now from the two engines. Yep. V-speed, as I say, once you're over 130 knots, you rotate. The takeoff briefing, yeah, is completed. Flight controls, I'm going to skip the check. Yeah, it's up, down, left, right, and rather left, right. Okay, now let's check that the MCP is properly. So our intended altitude is flight level 140. We're climbing out directly to that altitude. The heading is 071, because that's the runway heading. Yeah. When we're a bit closer to takeoff, I will show you how I set up here the MCP and what I do in order to have a halfway decent takeoff. Okay, pre-taxi checklist.
Flaps.
So, flaps, yeah, I didn't do it, so I have to wait now. Flaps 1. Yep.
Elevator trim.
The elevator trim, yeah, that's a difficult thing. The takeoff config, by the way, doesn't work because I heard on the Xcraft YouTube channel that they use 2.0 up, but when I use 2.0 up and I press the takeoff config button, then it complains about this trim. So yeah, again, simplifications, and don't forget freeware. Yeah, set and checked.
Transponder.
The transponder is on.
Internal and external lights set.
Yep.
Parking brake.
So parking brake released. We can taxi.
Brake check.
And you need to give it quite a bit of power in order to start rolling. It's a little bit reluctant when it comes to starting to roll. Later on, you need somewhere around 28, 30 and 1 to keep rolling. So brake check, yeah, performed. So now let's try and get to the runway. So let's put the legs here and the progress page here. Yeah. Ground speed is 10 knots, you can see it here if you need to know how fast you are. Hang on. Where is it? Oh, there. It's a bit hard to see with the sunshine here, the glare. So let's prepare the before takeoff part. And then I explain how I prepare for the takeoff. Okay, so first of all, put also the auto brake into the RTO position. Up here, yeah, there's only the lights. Let's turn on the no smoking lights. I just realized it's off. Yeah, not that it's important. There's nothing you can do with this here, okay. Theoretically, we should be able to change the aircraft altitude, cabin altitude, and stuff like that. Doesn't work, so forget it. It's not coded. So this is the way things should be. If you need anti-ice, you need to turn this here on. Everything else, most of it is in auto position. So if a button can move and it's not in the auto position, put it in the auto position and then you're done. So it's actually quite simple. And also in real life, the E-Jet is an aircraft where you don't have to flip a lot of switches normally. So flaps 1 is set. The speed brake needs to be armed, so you push it forward with the mouse. And now to how we're going to take off. So there are two ways laterally. If you have, like we do have today, a route where the LNAV is more or less a straight line out, and there's no danger of it misinterpreting one of the waypoints, because what can happen with the standard FMC is that when the first waypoint is very close to the runway, it might miss it. That means that this first sort of initial point, like here, this one here, it tries then to fly back to it. That would mean a 180 turn. And your flight is already going down the drain. So I know now here, no problem. So the way this is here now, when I see this, absolutely no problem. But when you have any doubts that there might be a problem with it, because we have a 0.8 from the runway edge, it's okay. If this is closer, it can actually be a problem. I had this a couple of times. If in doubt, what I do is I synchronize the heading with the runway, and I use heading mode initially. And then just prepare to switch to LNAV later on. That's one possibility. By the way, if you want to fly the route with LNAV mode, what you need to do is you need to click on FMS. FMS will then bring your route, your flight plan route into this here. And then you click on nav. And when you do that, you can see that now the armed mode is LNAV. And the flight director will follow or will try to guide you. The very nervous flight director, I have to say, will guide you along the route in LNAV mode. The other thing that I always set, and I have to do this before we take off and before I actually activate everything, the autopilot and so on, because I want to climb out with 2300 FPM, because anything else, like the toga mode, you press here, you are in toga mode, or the level change mode, forget it, will not work properly. Initially I had so many problems, I had so many crap flights. The takeoff was one hell of a either rocket boost or almost ended on the ground with no power. I got so fed up with this that I do not use auto throttle now during takeoff. What I do is, you see this marking here, this is somewhere around 83 or so % N1. It seems to differ from time to time. I put my throttle levers to almost forward, and almost forward will bring the power to this marker here. And that's all the takeoff power that you need. Then you don't move your throttle levers. They're kind of locked then or clamped or whatever. I think in real life there's something similar to that, but we don't have all this automation. That will do. Next is the trim. So the 2.0 up seems to be quite okay. Still, I am kind of pressing down on the yoke a little bit because sometimes it tries to already lift the nose earlier before it has actually reached something like 130 knots. which is not good, because if it starts then to already slowly climb, it's too slow. You might actually end up ditching on the runway again, getting the bunny hop or something. So I keep a slight forward pressure on the yoke until we reach somewhere 130, then I release, and then you don't need much, usually you don't need much pulling, because it will on its own head into the skies. So once you know this, it's actually quite easy to do. Like, the steering is quite good. I really like it here. They have done it quite well. Some aircraft can be a bit of a problem. Yeah. So that's the way I do it. I put 2,300 as the initial climb rate. You can always change this. You could, if 250 sounds too fast for you, you could start with 210, but then you need to go and manually increase the speed. I leave the 250 because when we get closer to the 250, after we've brought in also the flaps and the gears, I activate the auto throttle, and it's important that you check that it's really activated, because sometimes it looks like it's activated but it's not. So I always check that the engines actually start doing something that makes sense. If they don't, then I press again. Happened a couple of times to me, not sure why that is, but latest the second time when you press it, it's okay. Also make sure that your initial altitude is correct, and that should be it. So let's enter the runway. Oops, oh yeah. Another thing you should not do, that I accidentally did it. If you go too far with your power and then you retract the thrust levers, it thinks it's in rejected takeoff, right? Because we are already in rejected takeoff mode. So you have to be sort of, don't go too high on the throttles. Let's release the parking brake again. And in the end, it will also apply the parking brake. Yeah, so you stop dead, and then the parking brake also kicks in. So remember that, because you need to reset the parking brake again, and stay sort of around 30 and 1. Sometimes I forget this.
Approaching 07.
But it's only when you are getting onto the runway. So nothing serious, and it's easily recovered from, as you've seen.
On runway 07.
Alrighty. Okay, now what I do is I bring the thrust levers forward. I kind of hit the top and then pull it back a little bit. And I try to have, you see here the markers? I try to have it like this. It's about 82 to 83%. Then I let the brakes go. And airspeed is alive. And you can already see how fast this really moves. 80 knots. They are hugely overpowered, these aircraft, also in real life. 130, I pull, and here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, gear up.
Gear coming up.
So now I'm trying to follow this very nervous flight director. Very nervous flight director. And I'm now activating the auto throttle. I'm bringing in the flaps. And I'm activating the autopilot. So now what we've activated is, first of all, the lateral part. We're following now LNAV. The climb is with 2,300 feet per minute, vertical speed. The auto throttle is working. You can hear that the engine spool up and down, a little bit erratic, but it works. And the speed, we'll bring in the flaps. Hang on. Nope, I thought I pressed the button. Obviously I didn't. Okay. Gear is up, flaps are in. The barber pole should move. Yeah, so we are 250 and we're now climbing still with 2,300. Now, what you can do is you can now reduce this once you're past the initial climb. I always reduce it to 1,800 feet per minute.
Transition altitude.
And we stay on 250 until 10,000 feet. Above 10,000 feet, I usually put something like 270 to 290 indicated airspeed. On this short trip, I will leave it on 250 because this is just a test run here. But when I fly on real high altitudes like 360 or 390, I go to 270 to 290 knots or Mach 0.78 to Mach 0.8 or something. Yeah, but doesn't make sense on flight level 140. We're a little bit low for that. Works usually quite well, and for the descent later on you will see I'm doing exactly the same. I'm going to use the vertical speed mode and the auto throttle for the vertical part. Important is that the auto throttle is in, I think that's called speed thrust mode, if I remember it correctly. So the idea is there are two ways of controlling this, the speed, by either what we have now, the auto throttle in speed mode or thrust mode. That means the auto throttle uses the thrust to achieve the programmed speed. So if you say 250 here, it uses the thrust levers and the engine spooling up and down. The alternative is what the level change mode does, the IIS mode in other aircraft. Don't activate this one. It's so erratic. I hate it. So I don't use the level change mode in this aircraft. There you would use the throttle levers yourself, and by changing the throttle levers you change the attitude, so you can determine how much vertical speed you get. It will still hold the speed, but then will drop the nose or raise the nose depending on whether it needs to slow down or just increase the speed by dropping the nose. The IAS mode or speed mode. So it's now 10,000. As I say, I would normally now increase the speed. For this test scenario, I don't do it. You can see we got
10,
a green 10,000. We got the green banana. My script, by the way, says this 10,000 thing. The green banana shows you where you will end up with your climb or descent, which is great. So they put that in. And there's also a top of descent marker, which is also very good. We just have to make sure that we don't exceed the altitude. There's your top of descent. So that was actually a pretty good climb. Let's do the after takeoff checks.
Gear. Retracted. Flaps. Up. Auto brake. Off.
Yeah, and there's also climb check, especially when you have anti-ice on. I started once we're out of the clouds because I usually forget to turn off the anti-ice, and when I have actually a no bleed or no PAX takeoff, then I usually forget to turn it on, which is even worse. So I've written this little thing here that kind of turns anti-ice off, for example, here in this case engine anti-ice. The lights are not really correct, so I'll turn them off again. And that's it. That's what we do for the climb. We're almost at our altitude. So as you can see, the way I use this aircraft is what I kind of learned from many flights and some really dodgy to botched ones. The method I just shown you here, I even put it into my script. It seems to work best, yeah, with this particular aircraft. Now I don't intend to use it for other ones, because if you have a halfway decent auto throttle and VNAV system, you don't need all that. But for me, this is actually quite a good way, and it stays stable because, as I say, level change and any kind of dynamic change in thrust, it simply doesn't work properly. You can be lucky, but usually with level change, this was like a lottery, and usually I lost. Okay, so I'll be back near the top of descent. Okay, so we're now towards at the top of descent. There is no automatic descent. Okay, so what I do now is what's going on? Why can I not? Oh yeah, I'm on the wrong dial here. Okay, so I choose 5,000 feet, and again I'm using vertical speed, and I descend with 1800 feet per minute. The auto throttle, and watch whether or not the auto throttle is actually doing what it's supposed to do, and that is take down the power. Yep. So it's reducing the power now. And you can check, here's the green banana. I mean, we need to be at 5,000 latest at Magat, because otherwise we'll get difficulties with the ILS, because we might slip over the glide slope. That's not good. Then it cannot intercept, or it will not intercept glide slope. So we need to be at 5,000 shortly before Magat. You can play a little bit with your vertical speed now to get the banana a bit closer to Magat. I'll just leave it there for the moment. Might make some last minute corrections. Actually, looking at the speed, let's reduce to 1.7 in the hope that we're not getting faster, because I think we do. Do it 1.6. Yep, so 1.6 at least. The speed is not increasing even more. Could probably also go to 1.5. And yeah, so 1.500 seems to be a good descent rate. So we'll do that. Yep. There's nothing here. You see, I've turned off the anti-ice. Yeah. Again, normally it should be dark. And the rest is just as normal. We got the seatbelt signs are on again. Ground altitude is currently at 7,500. The aircraft is at
10,000.
53,000, which is a bit stupid. We just crossed 10,000, so the lights, this is my script again, the lights turned on. We need to reduce the speed a little bit. Be very careful with the speed brake, it messes up things big time. As you can see, just using a little bit of the speed brake has increased the vertical speed. Now that's also something that isn't well done in this aircraft. When I'm on VS mode, I expect it to stay on 1500 feet per minute. But any kind of slight change in power or in, for example, the speed brake coming out and the vertical speed is going up and down like a yo-yo. Now it stabilizes again on the 1500, but for me this is not what the vertical speed mode should do, because it looks more like it's behaving like a level change, trying to kind of stabilize the speed with the nose up and down, but that's not what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to be stuck on a specific vertical speed, no matter what we do with the engine. Well, no matter, but you know, like small changes shouldn't bring it out of its concept. We're a little bit fast for under 10,000, but what the heck. I think we're fine. I'm going to bring back the speed now to 210, which is roughly the clean speed, I think, if I remember correctly. And again, I'm very carefully using the speed brake to help with reducing our speed. Yeah, you need to be playing with this. It's a little bit tricky. Don't overdo it on the speed brake. Don't bring it out full or something like that. It messes up quite a bit if you're unlucky. You don't really want drastic fluctuations right now. So we have reached 5,000, a couple of miles, 10 miles. We're a little bit early with our altitude, but that's okay. I prefer early than late. Late doesn't usually work out well. And we're going to stabilize now anyway, because as soon as we reach 5,000, the vertical speed will come up or will go down to 0, and that means now the aircraft is slowing down. Speed brake, by the way, is long in now, and I'm running the landing procedure which prepares for the ILS approach. QNH 1013 sets the course, landing lights, and we turn the packs off. I must have put that in the briefing. Didn't want that. Okay, India Mike November Echo, we've got reception. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to synchronize the heading by pressing here, then I go into heading mode. Now I'm switching to the localizer, ILS. I check that the course is 080, that's correct. And I'm arming the approach, which is localizer and glide slope armed. That works very well with this aircraft. And I'm going to use flaps full. So we are below 210, so we can actually extend the first stage of flaps, which has around 250 knots. So we should be turning any moment. Yep. And the glide slope is also coming in. Flaps 2. And now I'm going to bring down the speed. We are 10 miles. So I'm bringing the speed now to about 135 or so. Something in that area. That's our approach speed. And let's see. How many miles? 9 miles. It's slowing down only reluctantly. Get down. That should change now. Flaps 3. Flaps 4. Flaps 5. Flaps full. Okay, now we arm the speed brake. Landing checklist.
Gear. Down 3 green. Speed brakes. Retracted.
Yeah, in this
Flaps.
case armed.
Full. Autopilot. Please check. Should be off.
Yep, a little bit early for that. Okay, and I'm turning off also the auto throttle and bring this thrust levers to 0 and then bring them up, yeah, better than the other direction, because if it peaks on the power, it usually messes up things quite a bit. Just make sure that you're not getting too slow. We're a little bit low at the moment. We're getting a little bit slow. So it is quite good here on the approach, so the aircraft is easy to control, I think. Yep. So I've done quite a few approaches now, and I usually feel quite comfortable, as you can see also.
Approaching 08 left.
I have the PFD also on an external window, so I see how fast we are. We're a little bit high. Correcting. And we're a little bit fast now. That was a little bit too much of power, but no problem. Nothing we can't rectify. Okay, come on, yeah. Down you come. Oh yeah, water. Just the nose thing, well, but that's explain for you. Okay. Speed brake out, reversers full. 70 knots, 60 knots, reversers off, manual braking, and we come off the next high-speed exit. So after landing, flow while we're taxiing back. Amongst other things, they will now start the APU again. So welcome in Munich, and as I said, the aircraft is very nicely to be taxied. It's better than some aircraft that I had, which are very difficult to hold straight. This one is easy going also. So there's a lot of nice things with this aircraft. I think we need a little bit more power for the roll. Now ground speed of 15. So I spared you the long taxi. We're now approaching our gate. We're going to take the first one here, 244. Turn off the taxi lights and nice combination, aircraft and fuel truck. See who's chicken. Yeah, as I say, it is actually quite nice to steer. I really enjoy taxiing with it. God, I picked one of the dirty spots, huh? Did I? I wonder who lost all that oil here. Okay, parking brake on, and now let's see, the APU is running. Okay, so we should be able to shut down. Okay. Right. And we are now at the gate. What we can also do is bring in the... Yep. Okay, so, as you've seen... I need to reset that one as well. As you've seen, it is actually possible to do stable flights with this aircraft. You can't just use all the modes that you're usually when you're in a Boeing or in an Airbus that is reasonably coded. Yeah, you don't have most of the stuff, especially on the vertical side. You can do your LNAV. You can theoretically do an RNAV approach, but only the lateral component. The rest you need to do yourself. That means the vertical part you need to fly that with some like, yeah, again, vertical speed, for example, or flight path angle, which by the way works here. If you're one that likes flight path angle, you can do that here, and you can actually select a 3-degree or whatever flight path angle. So it's one way of doing the kinds of approaches, for example, an RNAV approach. The FMC of Lamina is quite good in the meantime, so there's There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to use this aircraft on VATSIM. I just would recommend though that you just train before you use it on VATSIM. Just do quite a few flights in different situations. Get used to this takeoff procedure, the one that works for you. It doesn't have to be mine. And do a couple of approaches. But once you kind of feel comfortable with the aircraft and understand where you need to watch out, and that includes the auto throttle, where you really need to watch. And by the way, you have to get friends with the flight mode annunciator, because that's the only way to know what's happening at the moment. Okay, because these lights, although it looks like they have been put in here, they're not coded, and they claim that operators in real life don't use the lights anymore. So it's obviously an option that hardly anyone uses. My guess is, first, it's probably expensive as well, and secondly, I heard that some operators, they want to force their pilots to really use the flight mode annunciation here in the displays instead of some lights, which I can sort of understand, because the lights can actually be misinterpreted. Yeah, because look at these small buttons and the small lights. If several lights are on, it's you might actually need to look at it several times before you know it's the auto throttle light and so on. So I can somehow see, because if you look here, you can read what it is immediately. There is no misinterpreting, and you also know where is the speeds and where is the. It's a bit harder to interpret this here on the MCP or whatever it's called in Embraer. Yeah, but again, it's a freeware. It's well modeled. It flies pretty good. It taxis pretty good. It lands pretty good and easy. And it can do all the flights. So I personally have grown. It has grown on me. The thing that you see down here with the virtual co-pilot, that's not something that comes with this aircraft. Okay, so don't get mixed up here. This is my own development. It's in Fly with Lua. It's not finished yet, but eventually it will become available in a version that you could then use also with this aircraft. But I'm not there yet, so don't start asking for it. I release it when it's releasable. Okay, but even without this, you just need to click it yourself. There's no automatic. Okay, so don't be expecting this to come with this aircraft. Right, I hope that was interesting. Thanks for watching. Until next time.